4 people executed with lethal efficiency in just 7 minutes. It was the biggest homicide case Spartanburg County, South Carolina had ever seen. In the aftermath, police released this sketch of the suspected killer, but no one comes forward and the investigation stalls.
When they first started, I don't think they really knew what to do because it was something they'd never seen.
Then, over a year after the shootings, sometime after the birth of Melissa Ponder's son, Scotty Jr., an unbelievable breakthrough.
I remember asking where was Melissa. I didn't know where she was at this time. They told me that she was at the police station.
I was called into the sheriff's department one afternoon, and I had been called into the sheriff's department so many times, so I just thought it was another day like that. They pulled me in a room and shut the door. They were very serious, and they said, "We've had something come up and we need to talk to you about it." I said, "Okay." And they said to me, "You were here about a month ago, you changed a diaper here at the sheriff's office, and we sent it off and compared it to the blood from the crime scene, and your son's DNA does not match up with his father's."
Outraged, Melissa demanded a second DNA test, but the results were the same.
At that point in time, the lead detective on this said to me, "We now have 2 DNA tests that show that he's not the father of your baby."
In fact, the second test confirmed that the father of Melissa's child was actually Brian Lucas, the man whose body was found just a few feet away from Scott. And just like that, a new theory took hold. Could 4 people have lost their lives because of some sort of love triangle gone wrong? Brian's own mother does suspect her son might not have been completely happy in his marriage.
About 2 weeks before his death, I was trying to have a conversation with him, and his wife was sitting behind him and making faces. Long story short, Brian ended up saying to her, "This is my mother. I want you to treat her with respect." And it started to become a confrontation.
And there were even more damning clues, like that on the last day of his life, Brian Lucas was looking at a new house, apparently without his wife's knowledge.
He was very close to the shop, looking at a home with a friend of his who was a realtor, when he received a phone call from Scott.
So was Brian finding comfort in the arms of another woman, his own boss's wife? And was someone willing to kill because of it?
They extensively interviewed Melissa, and I know that our daughter-in-law was spoken to at the house.
They actually told her they had proof. Me and Melissa sat down and talked, and I told her, I said, "I'm gonna ask you a question. I want you to be honest. Did you have anything to do with it? If proof comes out that you did, wherever you at, I'll come and get you and bring you back myself."
But Melissa was adamant that police had it all wrong.
I said, "We worked hard for that baby. We had to have medical procedures to have this baby. I know he's the father of my baby. The only reasonable explanation here would be that I got the wrong baby." And those are the things you start telling yourself and thinking, well, did I bring home the wrong baby from the hospital? I said to them, "You no longer have the liberty to talk to me anymore. Call my attorney. And right now, I'm heading over to his office to have his body exhumed so I can have a DNA test done."
But for the next year and a half, investigators continue scrutinising Melissa's every action. Like, why didn't she seem interested in the details of her husband's death?
From what I was told, they were all shot numerous times. And I'll be honest, I never did inquire because I did not want a picture of him with a bunch of bullet holes in him. I just didn't want that mental image, and so I never asked. My last mental image of Scott is me driving by the dealership. I honked, he blew a kiss, and he waved, and that's my last mental image, and that's the last mental image I ever want of him.
Then, finally, after 18 long months, vindication.
So when did they admit that there had been a colossal mistake?
What he said was that they compared my husband's DNA to his mother's DNA, which was all gathered at the crime scene, and they did not match up.
They labeled as Brian was Beverly's son based on DNA, but clearly Scott is Beverly's son.
And once their DNA did not match up, they knew that there had been a mistake made down at the crime scene.
And an enormous mistake. Did they tell you what it was?
Yes, they did tell me that the blood had been mislabeled because Brian's body and Scott's body were next to each other at the crime scene, and they had just put the wrong name on the blood vial. Scotty's own great-grandmother passed away not knowing that that was her own grandchild.
Wow.
I agree. It's sad.
How is that for Scotty? And what do you tell him, Melissa, about what sort of a man Scott was?
Well, he has every reason to be proud of him. He's a really good guy. I was treated very well. I never felt insecure with him. I never felt mistreated. I was treated like a princess.
Adding to the tragedy, Melissa and other family members now fear all the time authorities spent focusing on her may have let the real killer slip through the cracks. A killer who could very well strike again.
I think this person does this for a living, and they're not going to quit.
Coming up, theories abound as to who really killed 4 people that November day.
From what I've heard, it's been anything from family disputes that just took a wrong turn to a rival business that's envious of their profit.
And could these gruesome murders be connected to an eerily similar triple homicide that happened just 5 months before in a neighbouring town?